was yours. When both of our keys opened up the same door, there was love in our hearts, in our clothes on the floor. Love used to be fun. It became such a chore, and the sky turned black when we spoke of the doubt that lived in our hearts and escaped somehow. And I thought I could too, if I figured out how. But like your punching bag, I kept hanging around. I only wish you could see what I've become since you left me. Convictions built upon shifting sand, but your eyes were adrift beyond only one man. And I stiffened my lip when I saw your true hand, till I felt just how cruel your cold blood ran. And I bit my own tongue just to see if it bleed. I said, don't mind the blood, it's just my heart on my sleeve. I only wish you could see what I've become since you left me. Well, I've been strong since you've gone. Well, I've been strong since you've gone. When you were mine and I was yours, when both of our keys opened up the same door.
That is Parsonsfield and Stronger from Blooming Through the Black. That's their latest CD. Lynne Sabean was with us from the Capital Center for the Arts in downtown Concord. Parsonsfield will be part of the entertainment at Market Days, which begins 1 week from today. They'll be performing 1 week from tonight. And we do believe on the South Stage, correct, Lynne?
That's my understanding.
Okay, and they sound great. And we'll be chatting with a member of the group, Chris Freeman of Parsonsfield, in just a few minutes right here on The Pulse. But Lynne, we welcome you back. And since last we chatted a couple of weeks ago, had some great events happening at the Capital Center for the Arts.
Well, we did. On June 4th, we had George Thorogood. As your listeners may recall, we had a pre-recorded interview with him last time, and that was really kind of interesting, some of his comments. We had a full house. We got a lot of comments after the show. We had really two different kinds of comments. Some people were like, hey, this is really awesome, but, how come you made us sit in the seats the whole time? And then other people were like, well, how come you let these people stand up when, this is the Capital Center for the Arts, after all. People sit and watch shows. So we really do take the feedback that we get from our patrons very seriously. And we sat down and we figured out a way with the understanding that people really do experience shows in different ways to try to accommodate the needs of both people that like to rock out at shows and people that like to sit quietly and enjoy them. So starting with the Sister Hazel show, which is going to be on September 2nd at select shows. This isn't going to be all the shows, but just at certain rock concerts. We're going to have a special seating section where people can stay seated the entire time. And then the other areas are people can stand up, they can dance. They can't dance on top of their seats. They can't dance in the aisle. But if they want to get in front of the seat that they have the ticket for and dance and stand and enjoy the show, they can do that.
Very good. So you do listen to your patrons at the Capitol Center for the Arts.
Well, we find that's always an advantage for a business.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is very true, but there are some businesses out there that don't always pay attention to the feedback, but not only did you pay attention to it, but took swift action as well.
We did.
Had you ever received any complaints like that in the past?
Well, not for this particular show. As George said, he hasn't been there for quite a few years.
Right.
We do receive feedback on some shows. Most of it is favorable. We're like, your ushers are the best. They're friendly. We love your staff. Occasionally, people will say, well, why did this happen or why did that happen? And, we really do take the comments to heart, and we really do try to get back to everybody with a thoughtful answer.
Outstanding. And then America, 1 week later, was at the Capitol Center for the Arts. And I understand, once again, the place was packed.
It was. This was just this past Sunday night, and
Yeah.
a lot of your listeners might have been there as well. America played a lot of the hits that people know. For me, growing up in the 70s, this was kind of like the soundtrack of my adolescence, so it was great. The audience was really responsive to it. They did Horse with No Name as their encore, not surprisingly.
Not surprisingly at all, one of their biggest hits, if not their biggest hit of all time for America. So great show. And as you mentioned, Sister Hazel will be at the Capitol Center for the Arts. It's a while. You'll have plenty of time to get your tickets for that one, but I am sure with a group of that regard and that caliber that they will be going quickly as well.
Well, it's reserved seating, so
Yeah.
obviously the sooner you get the tickets, the greater the selection of seats that you have to choose from. But more importantly than that, this is a benefit for the Frank Monahan Foundation.
Frank, of course, a long-time great basketball coach in the area, and Frank, just a terrific guy, and he left us a while ago, but his legend and his name and foundation carries on. So that is terrific. That's coming up September 22nd. Sister Hazel at the Capitol Center for the Arts. And then I see our good friend, Lauren Rainbow, has 2 shows coming up in the Spotlight Cafe in September.
Yeah, the Spotlight Cafe, in case your listeners have not been to this particular, it's not the big upstairs Chubb Theater. It's the area when you walk right in on the first floor. We have some doors that kind of open and close, and it's a really nice, intimate venue. The stage is right there. And I attended last year. I thought it was a wonderful performance, and I'm imagining that it's going to sell just as well as it did last year. And last year we had 2 full houses.
I would not be surprised. And if you have not seen Lauren Rainbow live in the past, she will totally amaze you. And I've seen her a couple of times. Of course, she used to be a regular on this show, but she just really comes up with some things. She's a psychic medium, and she is just amazing. So that'll be in September.
She did a reading for me at the end of the show. It was totally unexpected.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I was the last person that she did a reading for the first night.
And was it accurate? I mean, did it hit home?
It was scary accurate, and yes, it did hit home.
Very good. Well, she is terrific. So, and her popularity continues to grow. So I'm sure those tickets for the Spotlight Cafe will be hard to come by in the not too distant future. So get them while you can. I understand.
We also had a few announces just this week. We had the Bolshoi Ballet. We finally made our selections of the shows that we're going to be presenting over the next year or so. We'll be doing 7 different performances. These are HD broadcasts coming from Moscow.
Wow.
Yeah, so there'll be favorites like Giselle, and then there's a modern interpretation of Taming of the Shrew. I've not seen the production. I've seen some of the production photos, and they look like it's quite the production.
Well, we will continue and talk a little more about the Capital Center for the Arts in a few minutes, but I understand we have Chris Freeman on the line from Parsonsfield. And Chris, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is our pleasure. Ken here along with Lynne. And where are you right now, Chris?
I'm at home in Western Massachusetts, Leverett, Mass. So we have a little studio set up here and get a few days off.
Now, I'm a Massachusetts native, and I thought I knew where most of the towns were in Massachusetts. But honestly, until I found out that you guys were from Leverett, I thought it was a misprint, meaning Everett. But where is Leverett?
Leverett is just north of Amherst.
Okay. All right. Near UMass. So, but you didn't go to UMass. You went to a better school. You went to UConn. That's my opinion. My daughter went there. That's why I said that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Four of us graduated from, or not graduated, but went there. and we started the band down in Connecticut at UConn.
At UConn. It wasn't always Parsonsfield, though, right?
That's true. In those days, it was called Poor Old Shine.
So when and why the name change?
Well, we were doing it for a few years at a college and started to be a little more serious about it and learned some connotations of the old name, which came from a prison work song that we didn't know when we first chose it. And so it had racial connotations that were old and antiquated and happily before our time, but we didn't want to be, holding on to a name that having a name represent ourselves that we didn't fully understand or could be seen as offensive in some way. So we changed our name to Parsonsfield, which is the name of a town up in Maine where we have recorded all our albums and where we met our drummer Eric up there he was hired as a session drummer for our first record, and he hasn't left our side since then. So we're Parsonsfield now.
Absolutely. Well, great. Chris, great to have you with us. And Lynne, I know, has a question or two for you as well.
I sure do. In preparing for this interview, I had learned that your first gig was really kind of through an misunderstanding in 2010. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Back in the winter of 2010, Antonio and I were in a folk music club at UConn, and it was just a weekly jam session that played, Pete Seeger songs and Woody Guthrie songs and Irish tunes. Basically anything that was old, we would do it. And there were only a few of us in this group, but it was not really a band. It was a jam session. We never played for anybody, but we were asked to open for a friend's band who thought that we were a band, and we decided not to correct them. So we went and we played at Toad's Place in New Haven, which is a pretty cool place to have a first show, and we dug it, and we just have been doing it ever since.
So it was kind of a freak way that you got started.
Yeah, it wasn't fully intended, but life is like that.
So how do you build from that impromptu performance to getting signed a couple of years later?
We just kept playing shows, and we wanted to do it in a really organic way where we weren't trying to be something other than who we are. And I think that we were able to achieve that just by not seeing ourselves as any different than we did in that folk music club. We just play music for the fun of it, and the more more that we played, the more people heard us play, and it just kind of it happened. We didn't have any idea how to make a career in music, how to make a life in music, but you just kind of learn.
I see you're on a pretty good tour right now. You just got back from out west.
Yeah, we just did just drove a couple dozen miles home.
Yeah.
couple dozen hours home.
Yeah.
2 dozen.
Did you do all the traveling by van or car, or how did you do it?
Oh yeah, we got a 15-passenger van that brings the 6 of us around everywhere we go, and got to see some beautiful parts of the world in that van.
Yeah, you were out in Iowa and Kansas and Colorado, so nice parts of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you from Leverett originally?
No, originally from Connecticut.
Connecticut, okay. All right. Yeah. And you'll be hitting Concord 1 week from tonight for Market Days in downtown Concord, which is always a big event.
That's right. Yeah, we're very excited.
And 7:30 next Thursday, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And we think you're playing on the South Stage. Do you know? I want to verify that.
I'm looking through my info on it now, and that sounds about right, but I can't find it.
All right. Well, we'll find you. We'll find you next Thursday night, no matter where you are on Main Street.
We'll just follow all the great music.
We'll play loud enough.
Yeah. Lynn?
And we'll take care of you. If it's raining, we'll bring you into the Capitol Center and we'll have you play in there.
Oh, that's good.
We want as many people as possible to hear your music.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. On the same team.
Mm-hmm. That always helps.
So how do you describe your music? What if somebody said, describe it in a few words? How would you do that, Chris?
Well, I would say it's probably folk rock, Americana. We kind of try not to let any sort of anything hold us back in terms of the types of music that we can make. We try not to have boundaries. Certainly not any genre boundaries. But that being said, you know how we started, and it was from a folk music club, and so I think there's always going to be that organic, guy on his front porch with a banjo feel to our music, while at the same time, I love like indie rock bands, and we love all different kinds of music. So I think every different genre finds its way in there, but I just try and do a set that I feel like I've had a good workout at the end of it, and I've fully had a good energy release on stage. That's how I know that we're having fun and we're doing a good thing.
How many of you in the group, Chris?
There's 5 of us.
And I understand you're all pretty versatile in terms of the instruments that you play.
Yeah, try not to stay in one spot. Like play a little bit of musical chairs. So yeah, we'll pull out all sorts of crazy things. We got a pump organ, and a little it's called a pocket piano, a little analog synth, button synth, and guitar, banjo, mandolin. We play the saw. We got upright bass, drums. There's not a whole lot of room to move on most stages, but who needs it?
I think there'll be plenty of room in downtown Concord for you. Or if not, they'll make room for you.
Awesome.
Lynn?
Chris, you were talking a little earlier about some of your traditional music influences. Who do you listen to now when you want to relax?
Oh, nowadays, man, this album came out last week by a band called Big Thief that I just think is so beautiful. It's called Capacity is the name of the record. So I've been listening to that a lot this past week. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on the feel and the moment. But I still love love the old music, and I'll listen to, a traditional album, then something like Big Thief, like an indie rock band from now. But it's the more music you listen to, and the more you love music, the more music you love. So it's something that just keeps growing. I try not to I don't not listen to anything.
Now, when you listen to other people's music, do you ever think, I could do my own tweak on it, or is there some stuff that you just love so much you just want to let it be the way that the other artist has done it?
Do you mean in terms of covering them, or in terms of just letting it find its way in, like letting that music influence my own?
Yes, but both covering and influences.
Yeah. Well, I would think, as far as the influence, it's inevitable. If you're going to listen to something and you like it, it's going to find its way into your own music. You're going to want to emulate that. That's how creativity works. Nobody's creating anything completely new. You're building off something that has moved you. But that being said, there are times that it's worth it to learn the way that they did it, and then to allow that to spark a new interest in you. And but no, I can't say that. I would think everything that I've heard has influenced me in some way. It's as far as covering it, it's not really worth it to do a cover unless you have some new way of looking at it, I think, or of approaching it. But I would say both things happen. It's a balance.
I understand some of your music was featured on a very popular show on AMC, The Walking Dead.
Yep. About a year ago.
About a year ago? What was that?
Mm-hmm. It was, they played a song of ours called Weeds or Wildflowers. It was on an episode in season 6, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was a cool spot to have some people notice our music, and it was a kind of a worldwide audience, and kind of surreal to hear it in that context. It kind of felt like, I don't know. It's a really surreal feeling when you see something that seems like somebody else's project, all of a sudden, like something that you spend time with, and all of a sudden is a part of it. It's a really surreal feeling. Makes the world feel like a small place.
Are you a fan of the show? Did you watch the episode?
I did watch the episode. And I'm a fan of the show. I had never seen the show until we got a call from them, but I've since watched it.
And you've become a fan.
Yeah, it's a good show.
I guess I'm the only person who's never seen it. But
no, it's definitely
I know it's very popular. I know it's very popular, but
we've had the comic books in our van sometimes too to keep us company.
Yeah. Our guest is Chris Freeman, and Chris, we played a cut earlier before you joined us today, "Stronger," from your latest, your third studio album, "Blooming Through the Black." What can you tell us about that?
So we recorded that record down in Connecticut on the banks of the Farmington River. There's this old axe factory in Collinsville, Connecticut, where they used to have the Collins Axe Company. And it was this really cool space that we had we just decided to rent after we had lived in Canada to work on a play for a little while. And we were doing this play in these theaters there that are really dead in terms of the acoustics. And so we wanted to find a spot after we had done like almost 300 performances this play, we wanted to find a spot where everything sounded as different from that as possible, so we could reignite some creativity and some just kind of feel like we were doing something completely different. And so we rented out this Axe Factory space where it had this big boomy sound, and there's concrete walls and floors and ceilings. It was all covered in sawdust when we first got in there, so we just swept and coughed the first few days that we were in there. But eventually this really nice space emerged, and it had these, you'd clap your hands and you would hear it just echo for like 5 seconds, and
Wow.
and it was a really big sound. You could play really quietly and you would sound, there was no sound ended. So it was a really inspiring place where everything sort of had to slow down, and where we were sort of playing more almost bluegrass-inspired music before that. Anything that we did in there that sounded like that just all kind of crunched together, and it was all muddy, and it didn't sound good. So it forced us to kind of slow things down and to create a vibe. And eventually we went on and recorded half the album up in Maine in this farmhouse in Parsonsfield, and the other half in the Axe Factory. So it allowed us to, be able to still follow instincts of whatever we wanted to do. If we wanted to have a song that was more percussive, then we could do that by going up to a different studio. But it really just ignited these songs and affected them in a way that a lot of the arrangements would be very different had we written them and arranged them in a different place. And so we found that spot, and we spent about 6 months there, off and on. We would go on tour and then come back and rehearse there for a few weeks, and just let it kind of become our creative hub. And so yeah, that's where we made the record, and it was a really interesting experience trying to find out how to make this old building a recording studio that worked for us.
Chris, you seem to have such a thoughtful and introspective approach to what you do and why you do it, kind of rolling with the artistic flow, so to speak. Do you think you're the exception to the rule?
As far as the music industry?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think there are a lot of bands that are doing similar things, and I think that behind every band, every good band, there's a thoughtful approach to why they're making the music that they are. And I think especially with a group of 5 people like ours is, in order for it to make it work, there needs to be communication, and there needs to be thoughtfulness in terms of why are we doing this? Because it's not an easy job to keep it all together, and so I think thinking about those things, about why we're making music, and making sure that we're having fun the whole time doing it, because it is it's for entertainment for the audience, and we might as well have fun while we're doing it too. And I don't think I'm an exception, or we're an exception to the rule. I think there are plenty of bands that are doing that are not jaded, and it may not be what's on the radio all the time. Maybe some of those bands are super thoughtful though as well, and it's a hard job, and I think that it's something that I think that bands sometimes get a bad rap as far as not being thoughtful or not being responsible. But I think that it's running a business, and it's running and living a creative life is a hard thing to do, and it just doesn't work if you don't do it thoughtfully.
Chris Freeman, we certainly look forward to seeing you and the rest of your band, Parsonsfield, 1 week from tonight in downtown Concord. Market days will be underway. Great music throughout the 3-day stretch, and you'll be kind of kicking things off on Thursday night at 7:30 or thereabouts, and we'll find you no matter where you are around downtown Concord. We will track you down, Chris.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, great to have you with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the air.
Thanks for your
Chris.
time. Chris
All right.
Freeman,
Bye.
lead vocals and banjo and probably other things from Parsonsfield. They sound like a lot of fun. They have done some great stuff over the years, and look forward to hearing them live next Thursday night in Concord. And Lynn, I know you were the bearer of gifts today here to the Pulse.
I really hate to come in here empty-handed.
You very rarely do.
Yeah, I mean, we have a free show coming up next week, so I thought about what I could do.
A free show.
Well, the Parsonsfield.
Parsonsfield. There you go.
Parsonsfield,
Right,
yeah.
right,
So a couple days ago, we got a box in from Alton Brown, who is going to be doing a performance on November 1st at the Capitol Center for the Arts. And of course, it's like Christmas. Every time a box comes in, everybody's like, "Oh, what's in there?" And they take all the goodies out. And this really had a lot of goodies in there. And I brought one in today. It is a grilling essentials pack. It's got an oven mitt. It's got the metal tongs and a spray bottle and pretty much everything one of your lucky listeners will need for a 4th of July barbecue.
Wow. Boy, that comes in handy right in the nick of time.
Just need the grill, and obviously they don't provide Alton Brown to cook it for you. But
That's unfortunate. But Alton Brown Grilling Essentials, we're going to give that away in just a moment or two. Lynn, we have to wrap things up, but anything else you'd like to add about the upcoming schedule at the Capitol Center for the Arts?
Well, we have David Blaine coming up in less than a month now on Sunday, July 2nd during the 4th of July weekend. We have Amos Lee, who's a singer-songwriter, coming on August 2nd. And just because you don't see signs for immediately upcoming shows in our marquee doesn't mean that we don't have a lot going on this summer. We have a lot of children's programming from Impact Children's Theater, RB Productions, and Mr. Aaron this summer. So kids get bored, bring them in air-conditioned comfort and see a show.
Mr. Aaron is going to be there, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Mr. Aaron is going to be here right after the 4 o'clock news.
No.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
How about that, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So, Lynn, thank you. As always, great to have you with us. And we won't see you for a while. It'll be 6th of July, I think, right?
I think there's a scheduling conflict sometime in July, but we'll definitely get together a couple times in July and talk
absolutely.
about what's coming up this summer.
Absolutely so. And Lynn, thank you so much. And right now we'll take caller number 4 at 1-866-823-1077. That is our number for Alton Brown's Grilling Essentials, just in time for the 4th of July weekend. And this has to be picked up here, correct?
It does.
At the headquarters here at 501 South Street. So caller number 4, 1-866-823-1077, wins Alton Brown's Grilling Essentials from the Capitol Center for the Arts.